I was going to come on here and go item by item through the Trump rescission package, the attempt by the Trump administration to codify into law all of the hard work that Elon Musk and Doge put into finding fraud, waste, and abuse in our government. But I don't have to. I don't have to do that because the rescission package is $9.4 billion. $9.4 billion. I want to talk about the fact that this was probably the thing that put him over the top in the election. This was the Doge cuts, the promise of rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse, of just like the first time around, draining the swamp, of shrinking these massive bloated government bureaucracies. That this is probably what got him over the top and got him elected. He has a majority Republican House. He has a majority Republican Senate, and he doesn't need the same threshold he needs to pass a budget bill to do a rescission package. It's easy. He could do it like that. Why are we not seeing hundreds of billions of dollars in this rescission package? Because, as I've said over and over again, Donald Trump is a moderate Democrat. He governs like a moderate Democrat. He's more Bill Clinton than he is, quote, far right. The anger at the MAGA movement, at the Trump movement, may be justified in terms of what MAGA wants versus what the left in this country wants. But the hatred towards Donald Trump from the left is silly. It's misguided and it's uninformed, only insofar as he's a lot closer to you than you think he is. I want you to think about the Bill Clinton presidency. I want you to think about, because if I look at Trump and I think about what the left hates the most about him, what's front and center of the anti-Trump movement is deportation. That's what you're seeing. It's this mass deportation thing. And as a libertarian, I disagree with it, and I disagree with the growth of the state. I'm super angry about this whole Palantir, or as I've heard it called, Palantirany thing that's taking place in terms of Trump putting this massive database together. He's an authoritarian, 100%. He's growing the police state in order to deport illegal aliens, which is a mess he's cleaning up from the prior administration. But if you think back to the Clinton administration, and you look at the deportation numbers under Clinton, and then you look at the deportation numbers under Obama, and you look at how both of them talked about the border, that's tough immigration laws. Enforcing the border right up until Joe Biden became president was a Democrat thing because it protected lower wage workers from competition from sources south of the border, where people are willing to come into the country and do work for far less than American workers are. So it was actually a relatively Democrat position to have strong borders, control immigration, deport illegal immigrants to protect lower earning American workers. That's a very Democrat thing. That's what he's doing. You're just mad at him for doing it now because you were told he's a bad guy and you're supposed to be angry about it. You weren't mad at Clinton. You weren't mad at Obama. You're mad at Trump because Rachel Maddow told you to be mad at Trump. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. The fact of the matter is, nobody should really like this guy. If you hate him as a Democrat, good, fine, keep hating him. If you are a Republican and you're MAGA and you were waiting for this grandiose change in the way that we do things, you completely misguided in your vote. A $9.4 billion rescission package is embarrassing. I generally believe that the Republicans are going to get crushed in the midterms. He's going to lose the House and the Senate. And the only reason that a Republican may win the presidency in 2026 is because the Democrats don't have anybody on the bench. Who are you going to run? AOC, Gavin Newsom? California's policies aren't going to stand up to national scrutiny, and I don't think the country's ready to elect AOC. I hope the country's not ready to elect AOC. The fact of the matter is, what's needed economically to fix this country is a massive reduction in the size and scope of government. I did a video on this yesterday, and we'll talk about it again today. We need to reduce the size and scope of government. Government needs to do less things. We need to lay off a massive number of government workers. We need to understand that government's doing far too many things. And nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with the fact that we massively grew government during the COVID pandemic because we forced people to stop going to work. We locked people in their homes, and we put millions of people who are in the workforce and paying their own way on Medicare, SNAP, and Section 8. And once you create dependency, once you grow government, create dependency, put people on the dole, you can't get them off. So when we talk about, so you hear the Democrats yelling and screaming about cuts to Medicaid and SNAP and all these, we're taking money out of the, we're trying to shrink these programs back, and we should be trying to shrink the government back. We should be trying to reduce the budget back to what were pre-pandemic levels. Why is that an unreasonable thing? Even adjusted for inflation, which would put the budget at somewhere 1.1 to 1.2 trillion dollars less per year than we're spending right now. If we went back to pre-pandemic levels and then adjusted upward for inflation, we'd be spending over $1 trillion less. Why would anybody, Democrat or Republican, think that we need to keep spending at pandemic era levels, an unprecedented level of spending that was designed to meet this emergency, meet this crisis head on? A crisis has passed. Everybody's working. The economy's open. Why can't we shrink the Medicare rolls, the Medicaid rolls back down to what they were pre-pandemic? Why can't we shrink SNAP back down to what it was pre-pandemic? Why should these people who are able-bodied, not single parents, because this is the Medicaid reduction, right? If you're able-bodied and not going to school and you don't have kids, you have to work at least 80 hours a week to get Medicaid. How is this an unreasonable request? That's what I don't. That's where we're at. So if you have a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, and you have Donald Trump winning on Doge, and then as we are coming up to this, trying to pass this big, beautiful bill, which is the most ridiculous, childish name for a bill ever, but that's an aside. We're trying to pass this bill that's going to add to the deficit, that doesn't have anything near the spending cuts we need, that we're not sending a rescission package to solidify Doge. The thing that we all need to buckle up for is the fact that this is over. What I see is I did a video in 2020 about this, when the CARES package was passed, that this feels like an intentional destruction of the US dollar. It feels intentional. It's so stupid. It feels on purpose. I can't believe that leadership as a whole is this incompetent. I can't believe that the people who own, the billionaires who own our media outlets, are this stupid or blind to the fact that we are intentionally destroying the U.S. currency. I did not vote for Donald Trump. I know a lot of libertarians who did, who got duped into him by thinking that he was going to make these massive cuts, and they were willing to take the economic risk of continuing down the path we were on was so great that they were willing to take the risk of voting for Donald Trump. But in my mind, what's going on right now in the fact that he's attacking Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, two of the people who are actually like, hey, this is what we actually need to do to save the currency. The fact that he's sending this embarrassing rescission package, the fact that Elon Musk is blasting his bill should tell you that, should signal the end of the MAGA movement. The only reason to continue supporting the MAGA movement is because you are in favor of mass deportation. Tariffs are a ridiculous economic policy. Mass deportation represents the growth of the state, growth of the police state. Donald Trump has spoken very poorly or has not advocated well for due process, whether he's not a good gun advocate. He's just bad across the board. He's a moderate Democrat, so there's no justification for the MAGA movement. He's clearly not interested in shrinking the size and scope of government any more than any other Republican is. There is no fiscally responsible political party. There is no individual liberty party anymore. And I feel like it's pretty evident that Trump supporters and the MAGA movement writ large were completely duped into voting for someone based on his rhetoric, that the Democrats are right about the fact that he is in fact the ultimate con man. The reasons they don't like him don't make a ton of sense any more than the reason that MAGA people love him doesn't make a great deal of sense. He's just a guy. Nothing's really changing. Nothing's going to change. And again, I reflect on the fact that he has attacked realistically speaking, when Thomas Massie and Rand Paul come out and speak against the bills that he's trying to get passed, he should be supporting them, not threatening to primary them. He should be running out there and saying, yes, these guys are 100% correct. We need to shrink the size and scope of government. We need to get our spending under control. And you, voter, in the midterm, need to send me candidates, need to send me people, whether they're libertarian or Republican. It's not going to be a Democrat, sorry, who are willing to back me when we try and shrink the government. Because right now, the Republicans have no desire to make government smaller. I'm in South Carolina. The video I did yesterday, check it out, will tell you very clearly that when Republicans have the chance to govern, they don't want to make government smaller either. Nobody wants to make government smaller when they're in power. So at the end of the day, the MAGA movement is a failure. Trump is a con man who got himself elected president and is clearly not following through on the things that matter economically that he promised he was going to do. I don't think we're on a pathway to peace in Ukraine. We'll have another video about that. And that's it. I just wanted to check in and put this out.